The Major League Baseball draft starts on Sunday, and you can see it right here on MLB Network. Full coverage, rounds 1 through 3. Begins at 5 o'clock Eastern time. Again, where the stars of tomorrow are coming from. It starts Sunday right here on MLB Network. Front Office Insights presented by Sage. And if you're not hardcore into prospects, don't worry. We're going to give you what you need to know. Jim Callis will be part of our draft coverage, and he joins us right now. Jim, it's Brian Kenny. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, yeah, glad to be here, Brian.
How strong is this draft, Jim? Give us an overview.
It's a little bit below average compared to a typical draft. It's not as strong as the last couple of years. I don't think you're going to see guys go into the big leagues as quickly, like we have with these last two drafts. That said, there are a couple areas of strength that really stand out. One is high school shortstops. You could see 6 of the top 12 and 15 picks be high school shortstops, including the number 1 overall pick could be Ethan Holiday out of Stillwater. You also have guys like Eli Willits and JoJo Parker and so on. I mean, it's a loaded high school shortstop class. And then the college pitching group is pretty good too, especially with lefties. Cade Anderson from LSU, who was just the MVP of the College World Series. He could be the number 1 overall pick. William Doyle from Tennessee, who led the NCAA in strikeout rate. He might go 2. Jamie Arnold from Florida State. He potentially could go 3. We could see, I don't think it'll necessarily play out that way, but it could be 1, 2, 3 college lefties at the top of the draft.
So Matt Holliday with another son. How does Ethan Holiday compare to Jackson Holiday?
It's funny. Ethan actually reminds me more of what Matt must have looked like coming out of high school. He's built like Matt. He's 6'4". He's stronger. He's a lot more physical than Jackson was. Ethan's the power hitter. He probably has the best power ceiling in this draft. Jackson was more of a pure hitter. Jackson a little quicker, better suited to the middle infield. Ethan will probably wind up at third base, which is where his dad began his pro career before moving to the outfield. But yeah, if you see him, if you saw Ethan standing next to Jackson, I mean, you could tell they're brothers, but one guy's a lot more physical than the other.
Interesting. All right. Nationals, of course, with the number 1 pick, firing their GM a week before the draft. And Mike Rizzo, not just a GM, Mike Rizzo was a GM the last 16, 17 years. What do you make of that?
Yeah, and a former scouting director, too. I mean, Mike, any GM's going to be involved in the draft. I tend to think that Mike probably gave his scouts maybe more leeway than some GMs do. It wasn't just necessarily Mike making the pick. But at the same time, I mean, this guy was a longtime scouting director. His opinion was obviously valued. I don't think it changes too much with the pick. I mean, they're already well into their process. At this point, you know how much you like the players, in terms of talent. You're now trying to figure out the signability and what the bonuses might be and how much money you can push around. But yeah, we haven't seen this. Going back to 2006, the Royals fired Allard Baird roughly a week before the draft, and they wound up taking Luke Hochevar, which didn't work out, although they had enough talent in the system. They still won the World Series a few years later.
Right. Broadly, over the last decade or so, the big swing from high school players, especially high school pitchers, has it swung so far now, Jim, where it makes sense to draft a high school pitcher? You know what I mean? On a certain point, it's like, wait, there's actual talent there. We're avoiding it because we're still afraid of Brian Taylor 30 years ago.
Yeah, and funny thing is Brian Taylor got hurt in an off-field fight. But yeah, I mean, I still think the industry as a whole has a little bit of trepidation when it comes to high school pitchers. Most teams would rather take a high school pitcher with their second pick and pay him an overslot bonus than take him with the first pick. And it's interesting because this year you could argue the most talented player in the entire draft is Seth Hernandez from Corona High School. And he's got a shortstop on that team, Billy Carlson. They're both probably going to be top 10 picks. But Seth Hernandez, Brian, he can hit 100 miles an hour with a fastball. He can spin 2 different breaking balls. It might be a 70 changeup on the 28 scouting scale, but it's not just stuff. I mean, he's polished. He throws a lot of strikes. They're not going to two-way him, but he has some of the best power in this year's draft, too. He's a pretty complete. It's almost like a college package in a high school pitcher, but all those college lefties I mentioned before have a chance to go ahead of him in the draft because teams are just more comfortable taking the college arm, even though a lot of college arms get hurt too.
That's fascinating. All right, I want to go back to the blockbuster draft of just 2 years ago, right? And these are name guys already. Just 2 years ago, Paul Skeens at the top. Dylan Cruz, if I recall correctly, you know better, was seen as like the best position player there. Wyatt Langford still looks quite good, hasn't really broken out yet. You see Nolan Shanuel, he's at 11. He came through, but Jacob Wilson, boom, instant success, hitting 340 for the A's this year. So what do we learn from this draft and trying to project and learn from what just happened 2 years ago?
Well, there'd be 2 quick points. You had some people who felt like you should never take a pitcher number 1 because of the risk. And I don't think anybody would argue with Paul Skeens at 1-1. I think he would go number 1 again today. and that was a great pick by the Pirates. And two, Jacob Wilson was kind of a polarizing player because it was extreme. I mean, you're talking 99th percentile contact skills, like one of the best contact hitters in college baseball in recent memory, but there wasn't a lot of impact. And you had teams who believed in the bat and other teams who believed, we're not sure how much power you're really going to get out of there. How good is that bat going to be? And the A's kind of stuck to their guns and they took him at 6. I don't think a lot of teams would have taken him 6th overall after that clear top 5. And that has been a great pick for the A's so far.
Interesting. All right, great stuff. This is for the thinking fan out there that's not locked into prospects. Who's that high school pitcher you mentioned again, Jim?
Seth Hernandez from Corona High School in California.
All right, we're going to be looking for him then.